Okay, hello. So I'm going to try and make a very simple explanation of that math equation that you saw earlier, right? It's actually not as difficult as you might think it may be. It's actually pretty simple. But basically what you're going to want to do is first, let me just give myself a little bit more room, okay? So let me give myself 10,000 pixels of space to work with. That's a good amount. Okay, so we're first going to start off by writing our very simplistic equation. And I like keeping things simple. I don't want to make anything too complicated for you guys, okay? So we're just going to set this equal to square box with a question mark, okay? This is our question. I'm going to reference it with a nice big red circle just so we don't forget where it is, okay? Right, so we have our question right in the middle of our paper. Now let's turn this back to the regular color and set this back to regular size. How are we going to figure out the answer to this equation? Well, first, we need to start off by doing this. We need to separate the 10. So 10 is equal to 10 plus 0. This is the 10, right? The 10's place, and you have the 0. And then you have a 0 in the 1's place. So 10 plus 0, correct? So now we have to join these two, so we put a little curve here to show that we're joining it. But what you'll notice is that this is actually 0 curve underneath angle plus our original number up here, 9. Okay? Next, what we want to do is we actually want to divide this plus sign by a negative, right? This is a minus sign. And what this actually does is cancels this out. Don't ask me where the negative came from. I don't know either, okay? So next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to have the 10 here because you don't want to forget about this 1. You can't do that because we dropped this down here, right? This whole thing came all the way. Oops. This whole thing came down here, but we can't forget about the 1. So we're going to drop the 1 back in. We are going to put the smiley face, but we're going to make it look more like a triangle like that, right? Because we feel like it, right? But we also can't forget about this plus 0. Even though it's attached here, we can't forget about the plus 0. Even though we canceled it, ignore that. Just don't forget about it, okay? So we got to put plus 0, okay? And then we also have to add this 1. Even though we put it here, we're going to add it again, okay? So now what we need to do is we need to basically divide this by 37, right? Yeah, that makes sense. That actually cancels it out, I guess, probably. And then what you want to do is you actually want to get rid of this. This doesn't even exist anymore, right? Because we can just cancel it out because we canceled out this. Okay, so now what we want to do is we actually want to turn this on its side, right? Which then gives us circle, circle, line, line. Then we can't forget about the 1 again, so we're actually going to draw the 1 right in between. I need to make this a little bit better of an angle. Let me make it a little bit better. There we go. And we're going to draw it. Now, first thing you're going to notice is that this is actually a right triangle. And we want to figure out the value of x. Okay? But we do know, this is what we do know, that this angle right here is actually a 35-degree angle. Right there, okay? And now that we know this, we also know the top value right here, which is actually 30. And the 30 we got from this 0 here and dividing this by 3, which got us 3 plus 0, which is 30. So now that we have this, what we want to do is we want to figure out the value of x, which can be easily done. Is we can notice that this is the adjacent angle to this side. So we can do tan 35, okay? And then we can set this equal to 30, which is this value right here, and x, which is this value right here. We're going to divide that by x. So now what we need to do is we need to multiply this by x to get that out of there. And now we have x times tan is 35. And x times tan 35 equals 30. Then we want to divide this. Just pretend this is tan. I'm not going to write out the whole thing. So we're going to divide this by tan 35. So now we have x equals 30 over tan 35. Okay, so let's zoom out a bit, right? And let me outline this in orange. This is our second stage of the equation. We first started off with our question, abstracted it into x equals 30 over tan 35. Now what we want to do is we want to find the answer to this equation. So if we're going to bring up our scientific calculator, which is over here, and we're going to notice that if we plug in 30 divided by and tan of 35 and set this equal, we get 42.8, right? So now I'm going to write this out. We have, I'm going to push this to my other side so I can watch it. Switch this back to the normal color, and let's write it out. So we have x, so this is this equation right here. We're going to drag this down. X equals 42.844444022. Notice this says 2022. That's kind of cool. 6, 3, 4, 3, 5, 0, 6, 4, 81, 8, 5, 5, 4, let me fix that 5, 5, 5, 4, 5, 4, 9, 9, 5, 5. That is the answer to this equation. So I'm also going to circle this in orange just for ease of viewing. So now we have the answer to this equation, which we solved from up here, moved to here, and got our answer. But we're not done. Next thing we need to do is we need to re-notice this equation up here. So we're going to set it back in normal color. We're going to bring it down. We need to remember this because, oh, sorry, I meant to do this. Right, so we need to remember this equation because this is our starting equation, so we need to make sure we're starting with the right thing and we remember this properly. So let's bring this down here. We're going to rewrite our equation. 10 plus 9, oop, that's a little bit big. Let's go a little bit. 10 plus 9 equals square box with a question mark. So, first thing we need to do is figure out how we got this. So, we need to draw some lines. First, we can actually grab the first one in the sequence. So let's bring this over here. Boom, there's our 1. Now, let's find our 0. Our first 0 is right here. Let's drop that down, like so. Let's find our first 9, which is all the way at the end. We're going to grab this, and we're going to plug that back in. Now, we're not done. We first then need to take this 4, and we need to abstract it into 3 different components. We need to first abstract it into line, line, and line. Now, these are the different parts of the 4. Notice how we can then take these, and we can actually bring these 2 together. Guess what? Forms a perfect plus. So, if we actually take these 2 and bring it down here, and we run a special function, we can run the cos, tan, sin function. Now this function takes in our 2 values, so line and line, and this provides us with our required answer, plus. Now this plus can then be plugged in to its corresponding location. Next, we need to find another 4. We don't want to use these 4s because they're in great succession and this is part of the whole number. So we don't want to use these 2 because this one is a whole number to the left of the decimal and these have multiple 4s next to each other. So we need to find an isolated 4. So the next isolated 4 is this one. So we're going to take this down. We're going to abstract it like before, but we're going to do it a little bit differently. We're going to do line, line, and line. So this is our abstracted 4. Much different from the one up here. We then want to take these two values, but we're going to run a different function on them. This is the special function called the tan cos function. Simply that. Not the cos tan sin function, but just the tan cos function. Now this one is much simpler. All you have to do is just plug in your two values, which is line, and that outputs your wanted value, line, line. Okay? So it basically rotates it exactly 90 degrees to give you your outputted symbol. This one combines the two symbols together without any rotation or whatsoever. Now you may think that tan cos does rotate, and tan cos tan would also do rotate, but no. Just adding sin makes a massive difference. It's great. So now that we have this, we can then drop this into the equation, and boom. Now we have our elements. We got the 1 from over here, the 0, the 9, abstracted the 4, ran the cos tan sin function to generate our plus sign, did the same thing for the next 4, ran our tan cos function, and got our equal sign. Now that we have this, we can solve the equation. So I'm going to circle this in green to represent the next step. Here was our other step. Now let's finally move on to the final stage. Let's come back up here. Let's draw a line to bring us back up to the top. Let's go all the way up here. Perfect. So now we want to rewrite our equation one last time. 10 plus 9 equals square box with a question mark inside. Now, the answer to this equation uses all of our previous methods leading up to this point. Now that we have reconstructed the equation, we then come back up and we want to perform a simple function. We want to do 10 plus 9 vertically, not horizontally. Okay, that's the reason we reconstructed the equation, because we can't rotate the original equation. If we change it, it's no longer the original equation. So we have to re-abstract it and bring it back down to the reconstructed equation, where we can then modify the equation to the vertical version. And this will equal the square box with a question mark. Now the question is, what's the answer to this? Well, simply add 9 and 0. 9, 1, and blank. 1, blank. Now if we actually divide the 1 blank by 0, we can cancel that out, and we're left with 1 space 9. Now what we need to do is we actually need to divide the space by 97.6532 plus our little equation down here. Let's bring this back. Let me draw it in a little bit of a different color so you can notice the difference. We are going to take the answer to this equation right here and plug it back in up here. So now when we plug this in and we divide the blank, we can actually run the function again, and now we get the outputted answer, which was expected, 1, 9. That is your answer to the original static equation. Let's write it in purple. 10 plus 9 equals square box with a question mark. Guess what your answer is? Oops. 19. Finished.